Good evening. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening live to 105.3 out of Mississippi and 107.7 out of the beautiful city, of New Orleans, Louisiana on FM. And this is UFO Paranormal Radio Network, otherwise known as UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We like to call it UPRN. I'm your host. My name is Lorilei Potvin. This is the Angel Rock. I have the show every Monday. It's been 5 years now, live 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm also the co-host of a second show I've started here with a very good friend of mine, fantastic medium, Angel Channel, and super funny, fun guy, David Hansel, with the thing at the foot of the bed on Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got all kinds of people here. We're going to say hi. I promise. I saw Kevin here first, the Sun Dragon. He says, hi, Lorilei. Hi, Rhonda. Let me get through all the housekeeping and what have you. And then we will, before we get started, we will say hi to everybody. So if you guys like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends about it. This network's been around for 25 plus years, and we stream multiple shows 7 days a week live. When we're not streaming live, the archive server dips into these past 25 plus years and plays shows randomly from past and present hosts. And it really is something for everybody. I believe we're up to 40 hosts on the network now. So, and we're always adding new hosts, and we cover a whole gamut. It's not all just UFO. That's why we have the name United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, because it runs a whole spectrum, if you will. It really is something for everyone. If you guys want to start, join the comments, and we're going to say hi, like I said, to the people in the comments. 80% of our global audience, yes, this network does broadcast to every country in the world, but because 80% is audio only, you have to be watching to comment. So where you're going to head over to is UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network on Facebook and YouTube. We're streaming to my YouTube channel, The Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin. We're streaming on my Instagram account to The Angel Rock. Now, again, I want to remind you, if you're new on Instagram, especially and you're listening, they don't integrate the comments with everybody else over here. So I'll try and pop back and forth to say hello, but I promise we're not ignoring you. And I apologize if I miss you. Or you can head over to one of these platforms I'm talking about. Also, we're streaming on Canada's Most Haunted. And if you want to watch us on TV, we do have our own TV channel for the network. You're going to go to Roku. You're going to go to the channel store, and you're going to type in UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop-down list, and we're about the third or fourth one down. You're looking for UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio, and that's how you can watch us. I want to make sure I have a little check-off list now, because I always forget something. I know I forgot to tell you who I am. I said I was Lorilei Potvin, but I didn't tell you much about me. I'm a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, and I'm also a registered nurse, budding animal communicator, well-versed in near-death experiences, having had one as a toddler myself, and I've studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years, and I'm extremely well-versed in the paranormal. I always said we didn't go looking for the paranormal, it found us. We have shared some of our story with the Travel Channel / Discovery Channel, I guess now, Paranormal Survivor. It's season 4, episode 9, and it's called Demonic Hauntings. Okay, I think I remembered everything. Oh, Howie's all excited. Woohoo! I am here, he says. Let me read our wonderful guest bio. We've had this planned long in the making. It's kind of a pre-birthday party, because David and I on the thing at the foot of the bed are having a birthday party, because it's actually my birthday that day. So
Yay, happy birthday.
Well, Rhonda,
I need it for the week.
Yeah, I do that. So it's a pre-birthday party tonight. Hang on, I had this already here. Wrong thing. Hang on, where are we? I want to get your bio here. So our guest's name is Rhonda Harris, and she's a paranormal investigator, psychic medium, a Reiki Master, and shamanic practitioner. She's also a podcaster. I've been on her show with Howie, so is David. She has been drawn to the unknown her entire life, but in the last several years has begun to use her connection to spirit in the paranormal field. She is based out of Richmond, Virginia. She is presently a member of Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigations, or sorry, I haven't got my glasses on, FPRI. She also co-hosts the Orion Effect Podcast with Ed Odell, or as I know him, Howie Odell. but he goes by both names, long story, on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on the Riff Nation Network, and co-host on the Riff Nation Network, co-host on the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show with Ryan C. Jones on the Vibe Network on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. So welcome, Rhonda. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, it's taken me a while to call Howie Ed too. He's been Howie since I was 15. So when I ended up having to go by Ed, it was hard.
So does he want us to call him Ed? Is that what you want? Because he's under Howie Odell on YouTube, and I know he always went under Howie. So he told me he answers to both, but are we supposed
He
to
answers to both?
I don't know. I've known him for years, so I've always called him Howie. Just let me say hi to everybody. We've got a few people popping in now. So we've got Z Sun Dragon. He says hi, Lorilei. Hi, Rhonda. Connie Martin's here. She says hello. Michelle Wilfung saying hi. She's saying hi to Kevin. We call him Kevin. He's a fellow Canadian. He goes by Z Sun Dragon, but we know him well. He's here every week practically. So I just call him Kevin, hit by his muggle name. I got Kathy Hanley Little, and let's see who else. Let's see, am I missing any? The Phoenix is here and says hi, ladies. You got to highlight Howie's name in capital letters. Woohoo! I'm here. He says hello, 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 all. Okay, what does he say here? He goes, nay, call me Howie. Something my early friends call me, or earlier friends, I think he says, call me Howie. Yeah, y'all call me Howie, LOL. And then we do have FPRI.
Yep, that would be John Sullivan from my team, my paranormal team. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
He says hello, and we'll just every now and then I'll highlight unless we're talking. I'll just wave to you. You'll know I'm seeing you. So I always start at the beginning because wow, I knew you were a psychic medium.
Yes.
And we talked a bit about Reiki, but I didn't know we have pretty similar backgrounds. I don't do shamanic practitioner types of things. Julie Jean Bassett, do you know Julie?
I do not.
Okay, well, she may come on here. She's usually here. She is a shamanic practitioner and an animal communicator. I've taken my animal communicator course with her. She's incredible. But before we jump into some of your work, I always like to start at the beginning. So how did you know you were drawn to the paranormal and the gifts that you have and things like that?
So the paranormal is something I've been interested in since I was a child. I mean, I even as a small child, and I think it was my mother, and I blame that for her Appalachian roots.
Oh,
she always had that's a little research. Most of my family is from there. So I mean, she always had somebody to call if you were sick that had something to do to fix it. So so she was always into like gothic mysteries and horror movies and spooky, scary things. And so, you know, I can remember being a young child watching, you know, Dark Shadows with her at 11 o'clock at night. You know, like
that show.
Yeah. So it never frightened me. Like it intrigued me, even as a young child. And I can, you know, I've always been the one. All my friends always joked that, like, yeah, Rhonda would be the one to go spend the night in a haunted house and wouldn't care.
Did you have paranormal activity around you too?
I did not. I just think because I just was never afraid of it. Now, as far as the spiritual journey, that came much later, and then things within my childhood made sense.
Yes.
After that, so I was not scared of horror movies, not scared of anything, but deathly afraid of the dark.
So was I.
Death of the dark. Now I know why. You know what I mean? But like to the point where not only did my bedroom light have to be on, the hall light had to be on, my door had to be open, my parents' door had to be open. Like and I'm still, everybody laughs, I'm still that way. Like I like to be near a door in case I need to get out. Or, you know, my friend of mine and I were, you know, at an Airbnb that we both picked up on was haunted when we were staying there. Like there was a spirit there, and she's like going and shutting and locking her door because she doesn't want them in. Like, I'm not letting them in. And I'm like, my door's staying open so I can get out. So it's just
funny. They can go through a door.
Yeah. So it's like, I want to get out. So
that's smart.
My spiritual journey started, you know, with life trauma. You know, it really didn't start till my 30s when I had a lot of bad things just happen all at once. I had the death of my parents, a divorce and separation started, all of it happened at once, and you just hit this like rock bottom kind of like, don't really know how to pick yourself back up. Mm-hmm. So it started with, I think it was 2016. I went to see a medium with a friend of mine. That started the whole process. So she had gone, her father and my father passed away within a month of each other. She ended up several months later going to see this medium, called me out of the blue and was like asking me weird questions. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, it turned out she was listening to the recording. And so then that's why she had questions for me. Okay. So she ended up booking an appointment for both of us to go for, a group reading, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so we went to this appointment, and, my name wasn't on the appointment thing. The lady did not know who was coming with her. And she just told me things that blew my mind. Like, seeing a psychic medium had always been on my bucket list of things I wanted to do. Okay. So I was just kind of checking a checkbox. But when she's asking you questions like, why do you have so many license plates in the back of your car? And I'm going, how would you know that? Yeah. Things like that came up. So that being a really cool experience, that same medium right around after New Year's offered a workshop, manifesting your best year. So I was like, well, it can't get any worse than it's been. So I went to this class, and it was meditation and vision boards and things like that, and I had the best time, and there were the coolest people there, and I just loved it. Well, she, lo and behold, books another class. Hey, Carrie Lynn. Hey, Mike Brooks.
Hi, Lynn. We got Mike Brooks here too. Hi, Mike.
He's a member of FPRI. Thank you for joining me.
He goes, hey, guys.
Okay. So I ended up doing another class, maybe 6-8 weeks later, and it was discovering your gifts within. Me not thinking at all what that might have been. I decided to go because I had such a good time at the last class, and here I'm trying to get out and do more things in life. So I go to this class, and it is literally like a mediumship psychic workshop where you are, playing with oracle cards and reading people and meeting your guides and all of this. And literally at one point I'm going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? How did I get here? Oh my gosh. Talking about like fish out of water, feeling like, what have I done? What have I walked into? But then I ended up, she came to me. She could tell I was panicking. I remember I was reading somebody, and like, she literally walked over and she said, say it, just say it. I know what, just say it. So I said it. And she was like, after class, she pulled me, she said, you can do this. Like, you just didn't realize you could. So then from there, she ended up becoming a mentor, and I took many more classes, and then I've taken many more classes with more psychic mediums. But that's just how it all unfolded. And I think a lot of us, I think you either have those of us that were a young child and knew immediately, and their parents embraced it and you just ran with it, or you had some sort of life trauma or event that kind of made you come out and go, it just flipped for you. I think spirit gets tired of you waiting for you to do it, so they force your hand. That tower card comes out.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to, I always, the way it's been described, and I have to agree, is what we call collectively spirit, because you've got people listening here that maybe have never even heard that term, right? And we're halfway around wherever, some people haven't heard it. So spirit collectively would be our guides, our team, basically, that works with us, is the way I refer to it. And so spirit gently kind of just sort of whispers, and then they give you a little nudge, and then a little firmer nudge, and a little firmer nudge, then a push. And a lot of times it's like kablam if you don't follow it, right? Yeah. So my theory is, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, is I truly believe, like when I'm working with people with paranormal issues, right? When I have a questionnaire that I go through, because I always say, if you had a leak in your sink, could you probably watch some YouTube videos? Yeah, you might be able to Frankenstein fix it, but better yet, probably call in someone that's doing it every day. That's kind of how I feel about the paranormal. Let's see, are you even having paranormal activity? And if you are, if this is out of my wheelhouse, I'm no hero. Let's send you to somebody that that could help you probably a little bit more efficiently than maybe what I could, right? Muddling through if it's something really not I deal with. But I really believe one of the questions I ask is, one of the first questions, do you have pets or do you have small children? Because I really believe all young children can see spirit. So to me, right, we were all young children before. And I think you said something very pertinent, whether it was our parents or, being, and with no judgment on parents, but, saying, you're a little too old to be having an imaginary friend, or thinking you see this, or something's under your bed, or whatever it may be, right? Whereas some people hang on to it their whole lives. So to me, all it is, I think when people feel that calling, they work with different mentors. I always suggest different mentors because I think you get a more well-rounded picture and education of what you're getting yourself into. It's kind of like riding a bike, right? It's there, but it's buried.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you spend a lot of time wondering what you're going to do with it. Hey, Kim Sage from my team, and she's a fellow psychic medium.
Okay, because we got Mike Brooks that popped in, Kim Sage. I want to make sure. Oh, wait. We got Michelle Plummer. It's wonderful to be taken under someone's wing. I know who I missed. Shonda Brooks. She said, hi, Rhonda. So I want to make sure that we call everybody out. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying? Yes, with children, right?
Yeah, I think with children.
Or what you're going to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder what you're going to do with, you start taking these classes and you start opening up. And that's how, how did I end up a Reiki master? Well, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with all this. And that sounded like interesting. So you start taking classes, and then you start taking classes on pendulums, and you start taking classes on still maybe not knowing what it is you want to do with all of this. So, but I think parents, they don't mean to. I mean, it's a lot about how they were brought up. I wish now my mom was still around, because I feel like she probably had abilities, and that she probably knew a lot more than she told me or would speak of in front of my father. That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe your mom is helping from the other side.
Oh, of course she is. Yeah.
I hear you, though. Anybody, even as mediums, right? You'd much rather, and it's so personal when it's your own loved one. And anybody, whether you're doing mediumship or not, I always say you would prefer to have your person, flesh and blood, in front of you. We know we go on forever, but it's not quite the same. Julie Jean Bassett, were your ears burning? Because I was just talking about you. So this is Julie Jean Bassett. She's the shamanic practitioner I mentioned. Julie, I know you popped in a bit late, but our guest tonight, Rhonda Harris, is a shamanic practitioner as well. I was asking her if she knew you. I said, she's usually here, and here she is. You'll have to connect with her. I'll send your link to you.
Yeah, please do. Awesome. Mm-hmm. We're always down to talk to anyone who's doing shamanic practitioner. That was another one. It just kind of actually, Kim Sage that's on here, she and I went to a psychic festival up in Maryland, and she and I had both been really interested in it. And there was, you're walking around and you're seeing all the readers and you're seeing the different vendors, and there was a guy that was a shamanic studies guy, and he was doing readings. And it was 15 minutes. We sat in on a lecture he did where he talked about the mesa, and he talked about journeying. We did a journey there, and it was all. And so we both decided, oh, I want to get one with him. So I think we got the last 2 slots that he had that day. And it was literally, I can't even tell you what happened, but it was one of those life-changing healings that I've ever experienced in my life. I walked out of there not knowing what happened to me, but knowing that nothing would ever be the same again.
You know what? I second that, and I'm due for a new session with Julie. We had one, and it was so profound, because most of us, I think, that start working in this field. I'm going to read Howie's comment in just a sec. None of us have had this TV family. Some have, but most, I find, have had a pretty traumatic childhood and where they are in life at this time, right? And there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. And I was starting to get some flashbacks of things that happened to me as a very young child that no child should go through. And I wondered, and that was part of my first session with Julie, was going there and doing some soul retrieval. And apparently my part of my soul wasn't even sure really wanted to come back. I can understand why, but it is life changing. to have a session like that, isn't it?
Yeah. And so then we immediately started looking for someone who could teach shamanism. And there's a lot of places you can go. Some it's really, really expensive. And lo and behold, this lady who lived right in our area, after looking for months to find someone, she just showed up. So we started taking classes with her. In the soul retrieval, to me, I don't think people realize that anytime you go through any traumatic event in your life, any of them, you lose a piece of your soul, or you leave it there in that moment, which to me is so fascinating, because I feel like that ties so close into the paranormal, like those pieces of soul that get left there because something happened. Yes, as a teacher will appear. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to read that. Julie says, when the time is right, the teacher will appear. So Howie, I went to read his comment. He's talking about you, Rhonda, and he says, I feel her mother is the one that brought us back together, meaning you and Howie. So that's beautiful. And no, it's so powerful. And you're right. Julie just said too, yes, soul loss is real. And it definitely is. And I hear you because I didn't, if you will, rediscover my gifts. I was using them my whole life before I hurt my back as a nurse. And it always astounded me. I'm actually writing a book about it. Connecting with mainly nurses, but death doulas and first responders, to the incredible things that we witness as people transition out of this body and head back home, as I call it. Because I can tell you, especially working on the floor, there's so many times, but like it would have been the last room I checked, because I used to work nights most of the time, or days, with 8-hour shifts. And I remember this one time I was listening to a report, and I kept hearing, you need to go in that room right away. And it had 60 people on nights. So I used to start at one end of the corridor, right after report, you go check, make sure everybody's okay. And we had to do a heck of a lot more back in the day on the floor when I was working. Now it's all computerized. It's all written by hand and poured by hand, medications mixed, you name it. And I remember walking into the room, and this poor gentleman, I just watched him take his last breath and go back. It was my first code. I remember, well, I worked as a student in ICU, but on my own, that I had to, start CPR, call the whole crash cart, call the whole thing. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. But there were so many situations like that working as a nurse, that it was like, what are the chances of me just happening to walk in here and seeing this happen? And the big thing for me, my mother makes fun of people that what you and I do, and doesn't believe in any of this. This comes from my dad's side of the family, his mom. And, I remember calling my roommate, because it was my paranormal experience that got me. Just before the paranormal experience, I started looking into angel cards. I didn't want to deal with anything dark or negative or anything like that. That's why I was doing angel cards. And I still remember my partner now from 15, 16 years ago saying to me, Laura, before you work in this field, in order to know the light, you have to know the dark, right? So, like I say, that's kind of what got me into it. But I remember calling my roommate that I lived with. I'd known her since I was about 15. And I lived with her right before my first marriage. Like, we lived for 3-4 years. And I thought, how am I going to tell her this? Like, we don't discuss this kind of stuff. And she said to me, Laura, I'm not shocked at all. And I go, what do you mean? I thought you were going to freak out. She goes, no, you would always know things. And I wouldn't know why you'd know them, but you would know them. Did you find that yourself? Like people reminding you?
Because the funny thing is, for whatever reason, we used to take a girls' beach trip every October.
Oh, I love it.
A couple of girlfriends, and then the husbands would come down later. So when I first started this journey, I was probably about a year into it. For whatever reason, I grabbed an oracle deck. And so one of my friends knew what I was doing, and my closest friend from high school did not. She did not. I had not told her. So I pull him out, and I was like, so I got something to tell you. And I tell her, and I do a card reading for her, and she's like, how did you know that? And I said, so what do you think of all this? She said, oh, you were always spitting some weird stuff out of your mouth as a teenager. You always just knew stuff you weren't supposed to know. You were always just like, would suddenly go, well, this is going to happen. And then it would happen. She said, I'm not, you were always weird like that. And I was like, Well, thanks. I think.
I think, yeah, you're always weird like that. Like, thank you. Like I had that happen. Both of my partners that I've had long term don't really get into what I do, but they're respectful of it. And my current partner, Dell, that I've been with for a long time, he went through the paranormal experience with me. He's still a huge skeptic, but he knows it exists. So we were going, it's called the Christmas tree burning party at his friends that live out in the country. And one of his best friends, and we don't get a real tree. I would have one, but he hates the needles. So anyways, most people save their trees from Christmas. And then when the snow's gone, they have a huge bonfire and everybody puts their trees on the bonfire.
Oh.
So I'm about to leave and I hear from Spirit, grab an oracle deck. And they wanted me to grab, I think it was one of my mediumship decks. And you know how you argue with Spirit in your head, right? I'm not bringing a freaking deck to a party. It's like, grab the deck. You'll need it. And, fine. I know better than to argue, right? So this is all going on in my head. So sure enough, we go there. I meet this girl who I've never met before. That's one of their neighbors. And her mom had just recently passed. And she found out what I did and she was really having a hard time. And I said, well, that's pretty interesting because I brought an oracle deck actually. So we were inside the house and the best friend's wife came into her own kitchen. I said, I hope you don't mind that we're inside here. We just need a little privacy. She goes, I don't care. Just whatever you brought with you, take it with you when you leave. And don't leave any ghosts here. And because they knew about our house. And sure enough, it was a beautiful reading. But what had come out, I think, is validation, as one of her mom's favorite colors was fuchsia pink. And afterwards, there was lots of pictures taken. And you can see one picture in front of her, right over where her heart chakra would be. There's this most beautiful anomaly in the photo that's bright fuchsia pink. I thought, what a beautiful sign from her mom, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so
awesome.
How did you get into the paranormal investigation from all this then?
Well, so I've always been like haunted houses, all of it, but I'd never done anything with it. And one of my mentors did readings at this haunted plantation.
Okay.
And so she would go there a couple times a year and do readings. And so then they started doing investigations there. At first, it was just this one little girl. She was doing the investigations, and Tyler Darnell, he's in the chat.
I saw her.
Doing the investigations. Well, then FPRI started taking over the investigations, and so I just kind of, that's the first places I ever investigated, and I just fell in love with it. And then I think I was around long enough. FPRI finally said, "Do you just want to be part of us? Because like you just show up all the time," and they adopted me in, but. So that's where it started. And so now it's, I like to go anywhere we can go. I haven't been far yet, outside of Virginia, but I know in the next year, I think we're planning on some trips out of here. So it'll be fun. I'm excited.
You're pretty lucky where you are though, because
we are.
You've got some interesting history around you. The South's always got some pretty historical places. We're broadcasting out of New Orleans, and where you are in Virginia, I'm in Ontario, Canada. But I know New Orleans had a ton till Katrina came through. Yeah, and then Joe Montaldo, who owns a network, he said I always say his muggle job, his day job, he's very busy at this time of year with construction. He owns a construction business. And I remember when we used to do paranormal panels and stuff, and whoever was available would come on and we'd just talk all things spooky for an hour or two. And I remember he's talked many times about that his company was one of the first out after the storm to do repairs. And he said, because the salt water came up so high, it seemed like a lot of the activity got washed away from the salt, he figures, in the ocean. Oh. Yeah, so he said a lot of places that were notoriously really, really haunted didn't seem to have much activity. It was still there, but he said it seemed to sort of move more out into the high ground. Yet I'm hearing now from other people, I don't get to see Joe because I produce my show now. Before, when he would do it, I get to talk to him, but it sounds like it's sort of starting to move back into the area. Have you guys found that in any areas where you are?
We have hurricanes and things come through, but I don't think we found that anything like that, but I find that interesting. For us, I feel like we get a lot more activity if we've got storms and things like that. I feel like, especially if you're close to the water, it feels like it amps everything up. But it's interesting. I would not have thought about what you just said, that like the hurricane coming in with the salt water would clear everything, which would make sense.
I know
with on one of the podcasts, it was on a podcast with Ryan on the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show. We had a group out of Galveston, and they were talking about how the floods and things, because of the life lost and the hurricanes that would come through, it would amp up certain areas because of what happened with those storms. So that's interesting. So I guess it could go twofold. I had not really even thought about that.
My mind's running a mile a minute as you're thinking. Like, I've never been to Texas, but I know, people from Texas. I know it's not the same as going there, but my whole point is I'm trying to think, what would be the history of the people there versus, say, the French Quarter and all in New Orleans, right? That Joe was talking about. And I don't know. Maybe the landscape's different. I don't know if it's that, or
interesting,
something underground. I don't know. Like, it just, because that's kind of how that discussion came up. I remember in a paranormal discussion when we were on air. Right. And it's the same thing where a large group of people lose their lives very tragically, or we have to be careful. We're on YouTube, so we can't say it. But what we've gone through the last 4 years, I've got a lot of questions on different shows where people say, well, is there a lot of lost souls or more paranormal activity? Because these people, like, it wasn't planned for this to happen. And then we get into the discussion that, yes, it was planned. We know when our exit is, right? And we can change it if we want. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's funny. You said it like that, planning your exit, because my mother was a worrier. So like she worried about everything. And I got some of that from her. But I can remember as a child, I was kind of a rebellious child. Like, there was times where I probably spoke up as a young child that I shouldn't have spoken up. Like, I can remember even church, I was like, I just don't want to go anymore. I don't believe you have to dress up to go to church, and I just think that's wrong. I don't want to go anymore.
Good for you.
But but I used to tell my mom, because she'd be so freaked out, like, call me when you get here. And I was like, Mom, there's a folder on me. It's got my name on it. Everything's written out. It's already known when it's going to happen. It's not going to matter if I'm driving down the road or if I'm sitting in a chair here at home. When it's my time,
That must have been like knocked your, like, just blew your mom away.
Oh my God, she just did not like that at all. She did not like that answer. I said, tell me, how do you know that I'm wrong?
Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Just for a young child to say that.
I mean, I was probably like 14.
That's still pretty young.
Yeah, like 14. I mean, it's already planned out. And I'm there now when it's like, some of the things that came out of my mouth, I wonder what she was like. What was she thinking? Did she just think, oh my gosh, where did this child come from? She can't be mine? Or
I don't know. You sound like a pretty wise young child to me, or a child, because see, I grew up in a house. I've seen Julie Jean Bassett had mentioned, she says paranormal investigation so cool. And Tyler Darnell says, and BG loves you. And FPRI, I should have my glasses on. FPRI says, yes, we're starting to plan for 2025 investigations. When I grew up, I was forced, I always say, to go to church since being conceived into the womb practically, and then forced to go to Catholic school. And it was what you just shared, what you said as a child, I've believed my whole life. And I always say to people, you got to do what you got to do if it makes you feel good and it brings you closer to love, to goodness, to happiness, and it works for you, great. It's just, to me, my theory's always been, I was always taught that God is everywhere and God is our Father. So to me, I've never had to get dressed up real special and have to go to a special building to go visit with my Father.
Exactly.
So for me, that's what it was. But for you to be able to say that as a young child, a lot of wisdom, and you had a pretty great mom. It sounds like that.
My mother would never. The thing is, it's my dad who I don't believe. Like, he was very much like, you have no friend. There is no reason you need your light. Like, he was the one that was like, he would not have believed any of this. My mom, on the other thing, I think she would have. But my dad was the one who was very open-minded about things. Both my parents were to some degree. He was open-minded in that, I grew up in the country, like I was country raised. Everybody went to church on Sunday. And if you didn't go to church, you didn't take your children to church, you were not good people.
I would believe that. Yep.
My dad only went to church on Easter and Christmas. That's when my dad went to church. Me and my mom, we went. And I was young, and I wrote a letter to that letter. It wrote it in a letter, said, I don't want to go to, my dad was like, take her to church, till she doesn't want to go. And I wrote a letter and said, I don't believe this. I don't believe that. And my dad at that moment said, she does not have to go anymore. She does not have to go anymore.
Parents, because I think you were pretty wise too, that, the people that raised you and loved you and put you on this planet were willing to listen to you, because you sound like you had a lot of wisdom as a youngster, we'll say.
I wish our culture would kind of go back to, Howie and I were chatting about this not too long ago. We're here in the U.S. We're at an election year, and there's a lot going on, and I don't want to get in politics or religion, but back then, my dad was very much like, I don't remember what denomination he was raised. My mom was raised different, but it wasn't conflicting. They were just, one was Southern Baptist and one was like Methodist or something of that nature. Yeah. But they just didn't talk about religion. And my dad was just very much like, she'll figure out what she wants to do. She'll figure it out herself. But they also didn't talk politics. When there was an election. You
don't ask Canadians either. I can
remember them being at the dinner table jokingly on an election day. My mom would be like, Dad would be like, so who'd you vote for? My mom was like, none of your business. And my dad she'd say, who did you vote? None of your business. They just didn't talk about it. And look at all the fights they didn't have because of that.
Hey, well, you know what? My ex-husband and I, what was he? Was it Lutheran, or I can't remember what it was. I was Catholic, and I'd stopped going to church a long time ago. And then people, it's funny to read. I don't look at our video there. It's up on YouTube on Paranormal Survivor. But one time I was sharing a link with someone. This is when we were still living in the previous house where it was haunted. And I thought, I got to read these comments because something caught my eye. And please forgive my accent, but it was literally, I could hear it screaming. You know why y'all, these people have some problems? It's because they're heathens. They aren't married in the eyes of God. And was going on and on, right? Just on and on. But yeah, so when we raised our kids, I did have both my boys baptized, and they did go to Catholic school. Just because one had French immersion. I wanted my child to be able to be bilingual, my eldest. My youngest has special needs, so it didn't really matter where he went. He was in a special needs school. But we had decided exactly what your parents said, that, you know what, hopefully raise them right, give them morals, values, and ethics, and then they can make their own decision what they choose to do with that.
Do you think that's more normal now? Or do you think parents now more force that?
I don't know, because you know what? I have a theory, and I don't know every young child. I'm going to be 59 on Thursday, so now I'm always aging myself a year. Now I started saying almost 60 years old, and I'm not putting up with this anymore. Just jokingly, right? But I'm almost feeling like that we're bringing in a new, I don't want to say breed of children, but a new, almost evolved, different type of child. And I don't know if the parents, and I'm not crapping on anybody's parenthood here, I think people are more open-minded, but there's a lot of really spiritually evolved, wise children being born with a lot of abilities that they're hanging on to, I'm finding. Have you seen that yourself?
Yeah.
Very intuitive.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's changing, because I think it depends where you live, I think, and where, what kind of upbringing, and because you could go to some places and it's still very staunchly religious. Nothing wrong with that if it works. And yet, like I say, I don't know if it's because of TV and media that people are more open-minded, or at least willing to look for answers. Not everybody, but I'm finding, because I've always worked with parents with children that, if there's shows like The Ghost Inside My Child and stuff. No, I didn't work with anybody from there, but people were becoming more aware that, hey, my kid's not weird when they're saying, I can see so-and-so over there, and I can see this, and I can see that, or whatever they're picking up and feeling. So I don't know if it's that or what it is. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
I don't know. It does seem like it's a little bit. I think you're right though. I think it just still it's in the parents' hands. You have parents who are just like open to it. I think there are more parents that are open to it now, especially now because like things that when we were kids, there was no. I don't say there wasn't autism. Autism wasn't talked about. It wasn't.
I don't think it was around though, and the
yeah, I mean,
statistics
if there was things, and so it makes you wonder now, knowing things like that. I think people are more accepting that children can be sensitive to things. I think people are more open to it. I hope that continues. I hope parents keep being more open-minded. I mean, while some of the younger generations, we all complain that they have different work ethics, they have different things.
That's where I was going with that, because that's what Spirit kind of put in my head too.
Yeah, I mean, but they also, in some ways, if they're more open about things being more shades of gray.
And I think that's where I was going with the parents, right? Like with no shade against the parents, but it's almost like as a parent, you've got to be more open-minded to be able to guide and raise that child, if you will. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think we always want to think, well, I'm going to give my child what I never had, right? And I don't know. The pendulum always swings. Doesn't matter what it is, right? It always either swings too far to the left or too far to the right. And the perfect place would be just in the middle.
Yes.
That's interesting you brought up autism, because I don't think I've ever told you my youngest son is severely autistic.
No, you had not told me that. No. I have multiple friends with children on varying degrees of the spectrum.
So. Yeah, I ran into a lady at the store last night that worked there, and her friend has a daughter who got in trouble with the law, and it wasn't really her fault. She's autistic, but the police didn't understand that. And she's in a very small community. So I end up talking to her for half an hour, and I'm going, okay, you can check this out and this out and this out and this out, just to help her friend, right? But it's becoming more, I don't know, I think we're heading into a different time. And I you know what Spirit gave me this years ago? What you perceive becomes what you believe, and it becomes your reality. So I really believe, even though we've gone through some pretty difficult stuff in the last, say, 5 to 8 years, that the truth will always come out. And I think that light will always win over the dark.
Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. The last, 5 to 6 years, people have been looking for something, the silver lining somewhere. And I think that's what's opening up people's minds to things.
Yeah, it's that. And I don't know about you, but I'm finding a lot more people. I'm working on my first course. I've been promising it forever, and I'm hoping to launch it in October.
What is it?
I'm hoping it's supposed to be Introduction to Spirituality. Actually, one of my regular clients actually really helped me with it. She's going, when are you going to get that course out you've been talking about? And I said, well, I'm really struggling because I don't know what to put in, what not to put in. She goes, why don't you just make it in sections? And I went, she's right. So I think it's going to be probably 3 to 4 months, once a week. It'll have a live for 2 or 3 hours. I'm putting together a group, practice groups, a whole bit. So I'm hoping when people leave the course that they'll have a really good foundation to build off of. Kind of how we started the conversation, where they can kind of get a little sampling of everything.
Yeah.
Not everything, because once you open this door, the world we think is big, it's like a little dot compared to the paranormal. But
oh my gosh, yes.
And be able to maybe build off of that. So I want to get into spooky stuff with you. So let's talk, or anything, but so what's some weird and unusual and crazy stuff you found, or any cool stories?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. What cool stories do we want to talk about? I don't know. So far I haven't found anything that scared me. Like,
no,
not well, there's this one time we got startled.
Everybody starts a story with, and I love it.
One time we got startled.
I love it.
We got startled. I won't say I was scared. I was to the point I'd given up that anything was going to happen. So then it startled me when it did.
You've never been grabbed or
have not been grabbed. When I first started investigating at Belgrove Plantation, I can remember being in the summer kitchen and getting touched, like on the leg and the back of the leg. I've had where you feel like somebody's breathing in your ear.
Oh, I hate that.
So the one time that that I was startled, we were at Sweet Spring Sanatorium in West Virginia, and there's the nurses' wing. Yes, I'll get to this.
Okay, I'm going to read the comment because people listening won't know what we're talking about. So Kimberly Sage says, Rhonda left a woman on a cane behind. Is that what she said, Mimi? Okay,
Yeah.
well, you can tell.
She would be said woman on the cane, and she's my best friend. I wasn't going too far about her.
Okay. Oh, I get it. She left a woman with. Yeah, I gotcha.
So we're now known as the FPRI Sweet Springs Track Team.
I hear that. Yeah.
Because so we were investigating this nurses area with a couple of different hallways. Well, one of Shonda, who had been there before, had said that she had been on that hallway with just women, and they heard a growl. So we decided men go down one hallway, us girls will go down this other hallway. And so our thought was we were going to kind of do some triggering, if you will. So we were kind of going, last rounds, knocking on the doors. Is there anything we can do to help you? Blah, 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 blah. So as we're going down this hall, the first thing I felt was, you know how somebody, like, if they're hiding around a corner, they'll come up, they run up behind you and just stop. Like they're trying to startle you. I felt that multiple times. And I kind of mentioned it. And I said, I feel like somebody's just, I don't feel like I think they're being funny. I felt like somebody just jumped up behind me. So as we're walking, Kim's like, yeah, I feel that too. And so we kept walking. We were knocking. We weren't getting anything. So we get a little bit further. Kim's like, I'm tasting something kind of metallic in my mouth. So we're chatting about that. We get a little bit further. We get to almost the end of the hallway. We're getting ready to turn around and go back down the hall. And it could not have sounded more like it came off of an episode of Scooby-Doo. And I swear it was Kim and me and Shonda. It sounded like it came like right between Shonda and I's head. And it was like, woo! And we took off running.
It's funny now, I know, but it probably wasn't then.
No, we started running because none of us, we had given up. We didn't think anything. We were, all right, we're going to go back now. And this is when they do it. Woo! So Sean and I basically start booking it.
I would have.
Kim is on a cane and she's like, wait.
That would have been me because I use a cane when I'm out because of my back. So that would have been me. It's Kim. Kim, I would have been with you. I would have held your hand.
So we immediately when she says that, we stop. And then we all just start laughing hysterically. And I'm like, what kind of paranormal investigators are we? We just read.
Well, you gotta admit, like you said, something right out of Scooby-Doo.
It startled us. We thought like, oh, nothing's happening. And then when it happened, and then it was one of those like, were the men playing a joke on us? Because that sounded really flippin' cheesy.
Yeah.
So
almost like what a ghost would think that a ghost sounds like. So then
we go back to the meeting spot and we're like, should we go back? And Shonda's like, no, I think we should wait for the men. That's not exactly the term she used, but she said, I think we should wait for the men. And so so here they come back and they're like, you make that noise? And they're like, what are you talking about? And then later they're like, yeah, we heard y'all just running.
I know, but
so it was more of a startled than a scared because I'd have gone back.
People
would go back.
Okay, but people don't realize, right? First of all, when they see these TV shows that are supposedly reality TV, there is no such thing as reality TV. Plus, you have no idea what it's like because most of those shows, I don't know if you guys were investigating in the dark or not, but most of those shows,
we were in the dark with little flashlights. It's not like it was not like it was daylight. There was no overhead lights. It was dark.
Yeah, but that's why it's scary, right? That's where I was going with it. So when people see it on TV and it's in night vision or red light or whatever it is, yeah, we can see it. But there's a few channels I follow. I absolutely love Paranormal Nightmare on Friday nights. My Friday night is not complete if I don't watch my Foreman brothers, and because I think they're real. And I think they're in it for the right reasons to go and help people. But they've showed, I watch the Paranormal Files sometimes with Colin Brown, and he'll show you too. He investigates with his family. Like, you can't even see your hand in front of your face when they turn off the screen off the camera. And what people don't realize, that would spook anybody or startle them. And you're in the dark and all of a sudden you hear that, right?
Right. And you know, in no way, shape, or form did it feel malevolent. It felt like somebody from running up behind me to that noise, they were just messing with us. They thought
they were peeing themselves laughing too in spirit.
Probably. So that's like one of the funniest things. But like you said, in the pitch black dark, the first asylum I ever went to was a sanatorium. We went to oh shoot. Why can't I think of the name of it?
That happens to me all the time.
Oh my gosh. Went to another one and it's very broken up and it was so dark. If John had not, Kim and I had never been there before, we'd have never, St. Albans, that's where we were, St. Albans though. We would have not had a clue where we were going. And this building is so cut up. There are areas where you literally, they would be like, we're going to go downstairs to the boiler room where you have to go upstairs before you go downstairs to get there. It makes, like, I would have not known where I was at all, because it's that dark. So you really don't know exactly. That was the first place. That was the weird thing. I saw what we call it a crawler.
I thought that sounded familiar. Okay, so I have seen paranormal files. I'm pretty sure, like I said, Paranormal Nightmares gone there. There's been a whole bunch of teams because I've heard about that crawler.
Yeah. It literally looks like kind of like a person with legs, but that didn't feel weird. It just was like, all right, you stay there. I'll keep walking. Whatever that is, you just keep on moving. We've had at Belgrove, I think one of the best things we ever had. I think that was memorable to me, and it's been recent. Because I've only been doing this now a lot, probably like a year and a half, like going lots and lots of places. Is we had an SD session that was just off the chain. One, the guy that we had doing the SD session had never done it before.
Do you want to explain for people who don't know what the or you say SD, I say SDS, it's kind of like tomato. And then Kathy Hanley Little has a question, but I want to hear, because some people won't know what the SDS method.
So that is where you've probably seen it. You use like a spirit box. You have noise canceling headsets on. So you're doing sensory deprivation, and we also put a blindfold on you. And you're just basically between the white noise, speaking out whatever you're hearing. And the people around you were asking questions. Yeah. So we were doing that at the basement of Belgrove. This young man this was his first paranormal investigation. He had never done that, and he was very stoked to participate.
Trial by baptism.
It was so interesting. There was one point in time where, John was on one side of the room, I was on the other, and it was like, we kept seeing like this white ball of light. And he's like, did you see that ball of light? I was like, yeah. Well, the guy doing the SD session suddenly says, look up. So we all look up, and all of a sudden there's a white ball of light.
Wow.
And so then the guy says, do you see it? Can you see it? And then we were doing things like, knocking, and John would say, can you hear that? And he was like, the guy said, yeah. And the guy said, listen, pay attention. I'm going to do it. And then we heard an audible knock.
Wow. See,
that went on for a while. It was just like on and on. And usually with an SD session, you get a few things that make sense. But the majority of it's kind of like, that doesn't make any sense to the questions we're asking. But this guy was like literally telling us what to do. And we were following them, and it was crazy. I've never seen one like that.
Well, Jonathan Keyworth, he has JK47 paranormal. Okay. So I did an Estes method. We didn't, I think he might have recorded it, but what had happened, I follow true crime. Jonathan follows true crime too, because I think he's really got a gift with his, spirit box or SP7 that he uses. And he gets a lot of answers. And I remember when this escaped convict last year, Danilo Cavalcante, little tiny guy, was going to prison for life, and the guy escaped. And they had over 600 to 800, every special police force in the place looking for this guy. Nobody could find him. Nobody. So I forget how it happened, but I think I'd just been on their podcast, and Jonathan said, yeah, I think I know where he's hiding. He sent me a message on Messenger, and I said, where? And I said, and how did you find this out? And he goes, through the spirit box. And lo and behold, and I think he sent me the clip, and you can make out they were saying he was hiding in this little shack beside the river. Okay, sure enough, Jonathan found the shack by this river. Now, I said, how are you going to call the police line to tell them that you know where the guy's hiding? Like, that's gonna make you look real guilty or something. My co-host David, we were telling him about it. He goes, there's an anonymous tip line you can go. So anyways, Jonathan had a friend, his deceased brother, I think was a U.S. Marshal. So he had a friend, but this guy was moving all over, like all over. I don't know how this guy didn't get caught. He finally did. After 11 days, like they had the U.S. Marshals there, they had the FBI, they had every special force there trying to find this guy. Anyways, this guy was willing, once he got caught, he knew he was going to jail for the rest of his life. So they asked him, like, how did you do it? He goes, there were so many times you guys were like literally right beside my head. And you almost stepped on me. Anyways, so after he had that session, the guy went missing. So Jonathan and I did an Estes method. So I was the one asking the questions, and Jonathan had the headset on. I don't believe he had a blindfold on. He just closed his eyes. But I warned Jonathan. I said, I get spooky stuff around me. Be prepared. Like EVPs. Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, who you know well, was in here. Carrie Lynn, we were talking all good about you before we started. And Carrie Lynn had said, oh, they're my two favorite people on this show. We both just love you. Carrie Lynn, for everybody, she has Spirit Switchboard here on UPRN on Fridays from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whenever I've had her on my show, I think when I've been on hers, there's been EVPs. When she first came, I was helping her produce her show, and she had Rick McCallum on, the guy that played, I think he played Jason. Was it Jason? I can't remember, but he's been in the movie industry, does paranormal, just all kinds of stuff. So she's talking away to him, interviewing him, and I'm just hanging around in case she needs me. So I have headphones on. I love working with resin and stuff like that. So I could still see the screen, but I was just taking the bubbles out of some of my resin. And all of a sudden I hear this noise, like, little kids when they get to the bottom of, say, chocolate milk, and they want to get every last drop with the straw. Yeah. That's what it sounded like. And I went, who's drinking with a straw? And I look up. Nobody's drinking with a straw. Oh, that's an EVP. So I mark it, right? And then I go back, and it's right as Carrie Lynn asked Rick on her 13th episode she called it Friday the 13th. It wasn't, but it was the 13th episode on the network. She says, have you ever had any attachments? And it actually starts out as a growl. And then it literally sounds like somebody sucking something up with a straw. It was the craziest EVP I've ever heard.
That's wild. Mm-hmm. That's wild.
Jonathan, we didn't get a lot of information. You're right. Lots of times you just get jibber jabber. Like, it makes no sense with an Estes, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden I see Jonathan go, nope, that's it. Nope, that's it. And takes the headphones off, turns off. I go, what did you hear? He goes, literally. And I go, I am the devil. I said, of course, me. What did it sound like? He goes, kind of like Bill Maher. We must have laughed for about 10 minutes because so I don't know who was coming through there, but they obviously freaked him out. Have you guys got crazy EVPs too, besides just that Estes? Because your FPR said that was a good Estes session, the best one ever that night.
Yeah, because it went on. It wasn't just like I mean, it went on for a good 15 minutes that it all just made sense. And, you know, it did not want us. There was a back part to the basement. And when everybody started trying to go back there, it got whoever they were was upset that they moved to the back and started cussing them. And it was intense that night. It was just one of those where you just sit there and go, what just happened? John is the EVP king. He's got a DR60, so you know it cuts having to listen into all of the noise, but we get a lot of really good stuff. We actually the other weekend we were in an antique store, and what was really cool is we were getting some really good EVPs along with other activity, where like flashlights coming on and off, and music boxes going on and off, all in the same thing. There's one point. And if you go to the Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigation page, there's one of them out there. We had 3 flashlights and we were trying to get them to light them one at a time because they would turn one on, we were trying to get them to do one at a time as we pointed to it. And at one point in there, it says, I don't want to. Like, we're like, do you understand? And I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to. You know, it was some really clear things. So EVPs are fun. I think it's one of my favorite, especially when you get something else along with it, that was one of the first times we had multiple things going on at the same time. The EVPs were coming in that were just clear. There were a point where we were both just like, what is happening in this room right now?
I have the craziest, for people that don't know what EVPs are, electronic voice phenomena. I am telling you, I was always cautioned never to do EVPs or trying to interact with what was in my house. Like, my partner's been thrown 15 feet across the kitchen. I've got pictures of bites, scratches, burns. Like, it was a crazy haunting. Okay. But Jason Bland, do you know Jason from Paranormal Soup? No. I know how he does. That's how I met him. So he still does. He has call-in ITC night. For those of you listening, you want to check it out. He's got a great show Sunday nights on YouTube and Facebook. Starts, I believe, at 11 p.m. Eastern till 2 a.m. It's fantastic guests. A really great show, great community. Anyways, I used to call in all the time when he'd have ITC night. Sometimes this is when I was trying to figure things out, right? And I called in from the most haunted part of my house, and it was the Halloween show in 2017. And I do share that with people when I'm sharing our story. If you heard the EVPs coming through here, it will blow your mind. Like, it is, I have to try and put headphones on to discern it. Yeah. It is as clear as day. It calls Jason by his name by the end of the show. This thing sounds like something, a cross between that would be coming from the snake, or speaking Slytherin. And it's voices, I'm searching for something, and it's just so creepy. And then something happens very close into the beginning of the recording. Nobody knows what happened. It's some language we've never heard. I don't know if it was reverse that got, I don't know what it was, because the whole device was not in reverse. And you hear everybody go, oh my God, what was that? What was that? What was that? And it literally sounds like it was reversed, and a different voice coming through, a man's voice. It is crazy. And I have 2 like that. The following year in 2018, oh my God, just weird. Like, and you can tell the guy in the background that used to do a lot with Jason's show, he always used to give me a hard time. I don't believe in this kind of stuff. I've never run into anything negative. And I always say, bless your heart, I hope you never do. And he's in the recording in the background, and you can tell he's getting freaked out because he can't get it to shut down. And then Jason, the host, votes, and one man named Bill, that was his name, let in something through the gates of hell. Because just joking, right? Because Bill couldn't shut it down. It was pretty funny. We do have a question from Kathy Little. Thanks for being patient, Kathy. She says, being in Virginia, have you investigated any of the Civil War battlefields like Cold Harbor?
Well, we've got actually so many, especially in Virginia, there's so many battlefields. And especially if you research a property that you're on, I think you would find that the majority at some point of Virginia was at some point a battleground of some sort. Cold Harbor, if I remember correctly, it's the park. It's kind of state run, so it's hard to get there. I do know this past summer they did a couple of things out at Cold Harbor. I think a lot of people sometimes go during the day, but I think they actually had something set up where there was at least a team out there. So I have not done Cold Harbor. We do a location called the Cabin on 360.
Okay. I think I've heard that. What is that?
Yeah, that's where Howie usually broadcasts out of when we do our show with the cabin. Now, the cabin is the land that it's located on. They did the research on, and the Battle of Bethesda in the Civil War took place there. And there was hundreds and hundreds of lives lost in like a matter of minutes. So we do investigate. I've investigated the woods and things there. We do get some stuff with that. We also get a lot of, especially out there, Native American things going on out there. And there's also a location I have not been to yet, but other members of FPRI have, and that's Pamplin Historical Park. So it's on some battlegrounds there, out there. So yeah, we try to,
because FPRI, is that John? You said
yes.
Okay, so John said that was a wild evening Rhonda and I had, and a good time that night.
Yeah, I mean, because you're just getting clear, and it was more than what I say. There was EVPs, that ones that he posted on our page, they were clear enough. There, you don't have to think twice about what you're hearing. They're very clear. There were some where we kind of like, did that say what I think it said? But it was continual, like even to the point we were trying to figure out where the person that was communicating was in the room, and I think we got it kind of honed in on where they were in the room. It was very cool. It was a cool night.
And that's the interesting thing, especially when it would be, if you can hear it clear as day, I would call that a class A plus EVP, because a lot of EVPs are just whispers, or the very, like I pick up actually a lot. I find even people that put videos on YouTube that, they do a pretty good job, but every now and then I have picked up a few EVPs when you've got really good headphones on that you can hear that they may not have either mentioned or they just didn't pick up, right? Because they're so faint, and then they're very subjective because depending on your hearing, right? So Kathy Hanley Little said, what about Libby Prison?
I'm not familiar with Libby Prison. I'm not, John, I know you're still on. Are you familiar with that? I don't know what that is.
Here. Wait, I got to highlight. Sorry. He said we had investigated Fleetwood Hill in Culpeper, Virginia, and Chancellorsville Battlefield in Spotsylvania, Virginia, along with is it Pamplin or
Pamplin Park?
Yeah, Pamplin Park. Okay.
Yeah, I've never Libby Prison. That's what I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know. I've never heard of that.
I don't know. Like I said, I have not. The only place I've been in the South in the States is Florida quite a few times, but we've never.
I want to go to Florida, investigate in Florida. I do. I haven't.
Oh, okay. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Remember, I'm Canadian. Is it St. Augustine is in Florida?
Yes.
Okay, so my previous co-host used to go there all the time. It was one of our favorite times. She'd
go by herself. I've been there to visit, but not to investigate. So Mike says Libby Prison no longer exists, just a spot by the river. Okay.
So that's probably why you haven't heard of it then.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It was a Civil War prison.
Oh, and even John said he wasn't familiar with that either, Rhonda. So
is it like on the James River, Mike? Like, is it near? Is it in Richmond? I'm curious now. Now I might want to go find the spot.
Well, I don't think, Kathy, I don't think you're in Virginia anymore. You don't have to say where you are if you don't want to. Kathy's a regular audience member here, and she always asks great questions about all this stuff. So now you may have found a new place to go check Spot by the River.
Yeah.
Activity, right?
Yeah. But I want to go to St. Augustine. Every time we talk about like where we're going to go in the next few years, I'm like, we have to go to Florida. Let's go to Florida in the winter and do some fun places.
No, I remember my previous co-host's name is Seraphine, and Seraphine, that was her big thing. Her and I, speaking of creepy stuff, we used to do, she had two shows. I'm trying to remember. Was it Infinite Inquisition? That was her other show. I always forget the name of the show we used to do. It used to be Tuesday nights on here because we used to do it on our previous network. That's how we met. And she collected haunted items. And the interesting part about Seraphine and I, Seraphine worked with very dark things. She I don't know if she does anymore, but she used to be part of the vampire community, not
Okay.
Twilight vampires, but down in the South here, especially, I know there's a big community. And then, like, she had a cross one time, somebody sent her that cracked during an exorcism. She showed it to me, and she had all kinds of weird things happen with that thing the first couple of weeks it was there. But anyway, she used to broadcast out of her office, and she had all these haunted dolls behind her. And I remember asking her one time, because I'm more of the light worker thing. I don't mind dark things. I used to hate it.
Right.
Now I've kind of been, I mean, can't get away from it. So you got to do something with it, right? So
Right.
I remember asking her, like, why do you do this? Like, when you know it's going to get some activity in your house, to get everybody playing nice and warded and settled down. And I thought it was a really noble answer. And she had said, because I don't want these things being released to the public or sent out somewhere else, because I do know how to handle them. But where
That
I was
makes
going,
sense.
we used to get lots of EVPs, but also she had all these haunted dolls behind her when we would broadcast. And there was this one doll, and I couldn't see it really clearly, but I thought it was one of those dolls that would sit there, and depending how you moved it, the eyes would go up and down, the mouth might have moved. This doll had a painted face, and there are videos. We lost
Okay,
most of our
moving.
videos. Yeah, the eyes would blink, the
Yeah, I don't
face
like
would
dolls.
smile. You'd see the arm move. We lost most of our videos from the first couple of years. We lost our main YouTube channel for the station. That's why we all back up our shows now on YouTube. But I'm telling you, and some of the stuff, like, I have seen some crazy stuff too, even not on air. That's why I was asking you about some crazy stuff you've run into.
Like I'm not a big doll person. I'm just not. I'm just not.
I found a doll that was creepy at a secondhand store, and I was going to send it to Seraphine, and my partner Del made me get rid of it because it was so it was creepy. No, I'm not a doll. Well, because there's so many stories about haunted dolls.
Yeah, there is. I've just never liked dolls. But mine may come from childhood trauma, because my neighbors, so my neighbors were slightly older than me. I think one of them was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years older than me. The other one was probably 10, and then of course my older brother would be involved, and they had like a GI Joe ventriloquist doll, and they used to torment me with it as a child. Like, that was like, they would pull it out the case and I was running. I didn't want anything to do with that doll. It freaked me out. So I don't know if my dislike for dolls came from them tormenting me as a kid, or if I really don't like haunted dolls. But they do creep me out. Dolls sometimes just look like they see into your soul. I don't know if they do or not. But
I know, but I have seen, like, don't get me wrong, and we review a lot of clips and stuff on the Thursday night show with David and I, and David is a skeptic. I mean, it's important to have some skepticism, or at least you need to debunk things. You can't just jump to everything being paranormal. We get that.
Right.
But in this day and age, with deep fakes and with the audio capabilities, like, it's, you got to put that proviso in. It could be fake, because anything can be faked on video now.
Yeah.
But I was going through my phone today. I was looking for a funny Halloween video to send to somebody with this group called the Merkins, and I followed them for years. Do you know who they are?
No, but I know what a Merkin is.
I know. These guys have a YouTube channel, and they're musicians, but they all wear different horror theme masks, and they make the most hilarious videos off of like certain rock or pop or whatever songs, that they change it to horror, like a horror. It's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to find them.
Yeah, they're called them.
They're
pretty busy on Instagram too. You can't be, and it's spelled just like it sounds, the Merkins. Anyways, where was I going with? And I was going through old videos, and I collect clips for our Thursday night show. I could not believe how many haunted doll videos I had on here. It was like, oh.
There's something to it. If it's a painted face and you see it moving, that's really creepy. That's
I was shocked, because I remember after one show, and it was on this network, Because I used to do the Angel Rock actually Monday through Friday on my previous network. Don't ask me how I did. I had no idea that I just said yes because I heard Spirit say yes. And now I look back, go, I could do a show every Monday through Friday. I loved it. But anyways, I remember saying to her after the show one night, "Can did you see that doll? It would be if I was behind, would have been on her left." And she goes, "Sort of." And I said, "I swear to God, that doll was smiling and it blinked at us." And we went back through the video because we did once upon a time ago have a backup on our main channel. And there was, it looks like it's smiling and blinking. Mm-hmm. Yep. I've seen some crazy stuff, including somebody, I don't want to say they were, I have said it, but I don't want to say it because I can't verify it, but they either had a horribly deep attachment to something very evil or they were possessed, because this person was not the sweetest person on the planet. This person I knew, and couldn't say the name of Jesus, couldn't say God, couldn't say anything, and would go into like these trances in front of me, and then all of a sudden would get very sharp looking. The face would change. I remember this woman wouldn't have hurt a fly. And just with a look, her kid was on the floor screaming. And I swear to God, I've seen the craziest stuff. Dog hurting her animals just with a look. And then levitating. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you. Levitating on the freaking camera. Mm-hmm.
Really?
I swear on my children's heads. I am getting goosebumps, and it's not cold in here as I'm telling you.
Wow.
I have seen some crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And I'll take a lie detector test because I'm telling you, I never wanted to deal with the dark, but I'm telling you, oh.
I mean,
So
you can't have the light without the dark, right?
that's what I never forgot that Dell said that to me years ago, because before the paranormal and all this stuff, I was still married to my first husband. And I sometimes, if I'm doing a talk or whatever, sometimes I'll bring this story up. What do tattoos and angel cards have to do with each other? Absolutely nothing. But I was going to get my first tattoo, and I brought my boys with me. They were little, and the lady, it was husband and wife team. They're friends now, and she was actually a dental assistant, but she did a lot of spiritual stuff, Reiki, things like that. And she said, "Oh my, you have two really special children." And I said, "Well, thank you." I said, "But I think all children are special." She goes, "No, there's something very special about them." She said, "Do you mind if I try something with them?" I said, "Well, as long as you're not going to hurt them." And she goes, "Oh, of course." So she grabs these, I don't know what it was. Now I know they're called mochi balls, right? They're like a type of crystal. And
Okay.
she's like clanking them all around them. And then she stops and looks at me and she says, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, what do you mean? What do I do?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm picking up something about you." And I said, "Well, I'm a nurse. I hurt my back, and, you know, that's pretty well it." And she says, "Is there anything you're really drawn to?" I said, "Well, I've always kind of loved angels and unicorns and fairies." And she goes, "Hang on a sec." And she runs in the back, comes out with this box, and she goes, "Here." I said, "What is it?" She goes, "You'll know." And I said, "Well, when would you like it back?" She goes, "You'll know." And it was angel cards.
Really?
Swear to God, I'm not lying. I swear to
A
God.
lot of things like that happen, though. Like, I will say that I've not had anything like levitation or so far. I mean, like, again, I've only been doing the paranormal now for probably like a year. I've been doing going on investigations probably for like 5 years, but like really intensely in the last year and a half, 2 years. But like, they're just things that happen in general that I'm just like, you just can't make this stuff up. You just can't make this stuff up.
You can't. I couldn't made it up in a million years. But
Yeah.
you know what? Like Dave and I, my co-host on Thursdays, and I have talked about this before. You've met, I forgot,
Yeah.
Dave. It's been on your show with you and Howie and I. So David and I have talked about this on air and off air, but he's asked me off air before, do you think you'd be doing what you're doing now had you not been through the experience that you'd been through in your previous home? And no, I would not. I wanted to go and be a doctor. I had no inclinations in any way to be doing this kind of stuff, right? Don't get me wrong, angel cards, yes, I was drawn to that. So and it was kind of like what made me start looking into, like you expressed about the spiritual. It was kind of all of it later in life, opening up that box. Because isn't it interesting when we're going through a really rough time, most of us, right? We start to really question, why am I here?
Yes.
Path. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's that, especially for me, because I was, when I lost both my parents, I had spent a lot of time taking care of both of them because they
Oh,
both kind of fell ill at the same time. Then a marriage falls apart, right? So you literally are sitting there going,
your whole
I was
world's
never like it was never, and it sounds like, but like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, why am I even here now? Like, it was never like that deep, but it's kind of like, well, so now what? Now what
your
am I
whole
supposed
world's falling apart as
to do?
you
Right.
knew it.
And you're so used to taking care of somebody else or doing other things. It's that like, now what do I do? What's my purpose now? Because now I served that one. What am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm finding I'm meeting a lot of people with the people I'm working with, or mentoring or teaching, that I think over the last, we'll say 5 years, people are really starting to question things like, again, why am I here? What's my purpose? Like, there's got to be more to this than just going
yeah,
to an 8-hour a day job or 7.5 hour a day job and coming home and eating dinner, watching your favorite TV, go back to work and do it all over again, right?
yeah,
I think people are starting to realize that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
finding
agree.
that.
At
Mm-hmm.
least I hope they are.
Well, I don't think you know what? I think people that are meant to wake up will sort of wake up to, right? Because we've all still met with no judgment, still met people that believe there's nothing beyond this life. There's,
Oh yeah,
you know what? I never set a foot outside their backyard, and that's what their life is. So my thing is, if you're happy, I guess, and you're content, you're not hurting anybody.
yes.
That's if that's what you're meant to do, that's what you're meant to do, I guess.
I mean, that's kind of been my motto. That's the one thing I kind of, you and through all the trials and tribulations you go through in life, and even your spiritual journey, and even with the paranormal, I've just kind of, because not everybody in the paranormal works the same way.
No,
You
no.
know, um, my motto is kind of like, you do you, boo.
I like that.
You do
That's
you, boo.
sweet.
Whatever floats your boat, as long as you're not bothering me, have at it.
I know, like I mean, we all can judge. We all can, whether we say
Yeah,
we can or we not. But I try to
we
remind
do. We
myself
do. We
that
don't mean to, but we do.
we do, whether you say you don't or you don't, and you wouldn't be human if you didn't admit it. But I try to
Exactly.
remind myself, you don't know their story.
Yep.
You don't know what they've been through. And, you know, there's nothing. I've been saying this a lot tonight, things I always say, but I do too. Like, behavior doesn't happen out of the blue. So if someone's crappy to you, right? I try to remember that it doesn't make it hurt any less, but
Yeah.
it says more about them and what they're going through than it does about yourself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's their stuff, not your stuff, and that's what you just have to remember when somebody comes at you with negativity.
Mhm. I think it's about perspective too, right? We've all met people that everything's awful. My life sucks. I got nothing to be grateful for. Everybody hates me. Every time I touch something, it goes wrong. Or there's people who choose to see glass half full. I think that helps a lot.
And then
I
you just want to tell them so bad. Well, it's because you think like if you
I
think it's gonna
know.
happen, that's
I
why
know.
everything's like that.
It's so easy to fix.
Oh my gosh, that was a theme. I had a weekend where I did a bunch of tarot readings, and that was like a reoccurring theme that was like, you manifest the thoughts that you have. Um, you know, don't try to dwell on the bad things that could or would happen. Kind of focus on the good, because you can make those bad things happen. If you sit there and focus enough on for enough times that your car is going to break down, it's probably going to break down.
Well, let's talk about tulpas. I'm just going to say hi to Michelle. Or Mish. She's over in Australia. So she's in the future. It's already Tuesday morning. We're glad
Oh
you could
wow.
join
Happy
us.
Tuesday.
So think about a tulpa, right? Like, how do tulpas develop? Because if everything's energy, and I always say our thoughts are words. I just said it again. I always say, I say a lot of things. Everything's energy, but I really believe our words, our thoughts, and our emotions are some of the most powerful particles of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the more people that put that energy into something along with belief, you
Yep.
speak about it, you talk about it, you draw it. And I always use the example of Slender Man or Thin Man, right? That was a
Yeah.
creepy pasta.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when we investigate the Cabin 360, there's the rancher that has like a really bad backstory, And then there is the actual cabin itself, which the first time I ever went there. Now, are there spirits in the cabin? Yes, because I have now experienced them. I've witnessed them. I've been doing the show there with Howie enough. There's definitely people who walk up and down, the hallways, and there's definitely somebody who has touched me in there before when we were just sitting there, because I had somebody else experience the exact same thing I did when I was there. So, but I remember when I walked in there, just feeling the different energy, it felt very manifested, like people had kind of created something in the cabin to be there because they talked about it so much. And that's just initially, not to say there's not spirits there, but when my initial reaction was like, this feels like something that people have created.
We even see that in some places that are notorious for activity. And then, as I always say again, I keep saying that I didn't realize how much I said it a lot tonight. I'm catching myself. But the thing is, not everybody's running around thinking love and light and rainbows and unicorn poop, right? Like, they're not all love and light. There's a lot of negativity, or and I know this can be debatable on people's beliefs, but I think there's a reason why magic works and spells works and alchemy works. It's the belief, right? And go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's the intention. It's all about intention.
People can conjure stuff, and I believe in portals. I believe in that type of thing. So, and we've all seen it in some of the most notorious paranormal spots. And even when investigators go in, I don't know if your team is more than likely, but you may get a communication or be able to ask the question, why are you here? Or I've heard in some investigation, it'll say I was conjured, or someone created a portal. So
yeah, I mean, I totally see that. I totally see that.
So that could happen. So you know what? It's the same thing. Like you said, if you focus on your car breaking down enough, eventually you're going to manifest it.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. So Julia's over in England. Let me think, Julia. It's got to be 12:40 a.m. there. So thank you for joining us. Michelle has a comment but question, and I think it's a good one. She says it's hard to change your thoughts sometimes when you're in that zone. What's your thoughts?
It really is. It really is. I mean, I found myself sometimes I have to go, hold up, back it up, sister, back it up. You need to stop. You're like, you need to stop. And that it's really about being aware that you're doing it. I think that's some people are not aware that they do it.
Look at me just catching myself. And I always say, because I kept hearing myself saying it, I realized, holy crap, I've been saying it a lot. It's becoming aware, right?
Yes. I'm going to win the lotto. It hasn't worked yet. Well,
there's a reason why.
But yet.
Because when we're hoping to manifest, when you look into the law of attraction, we are coming from a space of not need. It's like, I already own it. I already have it. Right? And putting a lot of positive energy and thought and emotion into it. You've got to imagine, what would it feel like to win the lottery and spend some time daydreaming it. I'm still working on it too, Mish, so I'm not shooting you down.
It's that speaking it like it's already happened part that's hard. Like
I've had some people say, write it down. And I tried that with one thing, but I didn't keep it up. And Spirit's been reminding me of that. And they've said it's worked for them to take a journal and start journaling. Thank you for I want a new vehicle. So thank you for my brand new red, whatever kind of, being very specific, say truck. I love when I drive it down the highway or on my way out to camp, and really getting descriptive, because as you write it, it's putting more energy than just thought and word. And then they have said it has worked. Writing over, like just journaling if you can every day, if not a couple times a week, but really getting into the thought, and if you will, daydream of what it feels like. Imagine yourself being there, what it is, right?
Well, and you just kicked another part of it, is already giving gratitude for it happening. Gratitude is another huge part of the law of attraction. It's stating what you're grateful for that you already have, but also stating that grateful, thank you for providing me this truck that I always wanted, and I love feeling the wind in my hair with the windows down. And it's that expressing the gratitude for what's coming.
Exactly, because there is no time and space on the other side. So technically, past, present, and future is happening at the same time too. So when you're already living in that emotion, that you have it already. And I always try and trick myself with, I just have chosen not to pick it up yet. But of course, then I'm thinking, no, I would pick up my vehicle. I'm still working around the psychology of it. But Julia says, yes, it is. It's too hot to sleep over in England. She said, but glad to be awake, as love the show as always. Well, we love having you here, everybody here. So Jean Bassett says the word yet plus the intention puts in a sense of the
good point. Good
mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
So I would love to, and I'm working on it too, Mish. So please, and Michelle, I'm really shouting Mish. I call her born name is Michelle, but she goes by Mish. Shouting her out because her birthday, I believe, is the day before mine in Australia. So I said she gets to celebrate with me on my birthday on Thursday. Then,
are you Leo or are you
Leo?
Leo.
Mm-hmm. And I am.
What date is your birthday? The
15th.
Okay, my dad's was the 13th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that would be tomorrow. So happy birthday in heaven, your dad.
Yeah. And actually, that's why when you gave me the calendar, and I looked at dates, that's why I picked this date, because it would be right before his birthday.
I love it. Well, yep. Oh, you're the 14th. That's what I thought. So for you already, Miss, she's going, it's tomorrow. But see.
But today is the 13th there. So
yes, it's already the 13th, but I knew her birthday was the day before mine. So, Julia says she's a Leo too. So she says,
30th. Okay, cool.
Is that Carrie Lynn's birthday was the 31st, right? Was it the 31st of July? I think it was.
I believe so.
And her brother's the 12th. So happy birthday to your brother.
Happy birthday. All these Leos in the house.
I'll tell you, all of us. So I hope, you know what, it's kind of cool to talk about all these things though, right? When you put it on, I always say you can't separate it.
No.
You really can't.
Nope.
It's all paranormal. Whether it's spiritual. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it really all is, because now I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so if you're into astrology, the opposing sign, which opposing not in a bad way, but the sign that somebody's supposed to be that's opposed across the way from it, when you look at the zodiac, is Aquarius to Leo, which I'm Aquarius.
What day is your birthday?
January 25th.
Oh my gosh, that's so close to my really close friend. She lives in Atlanta. She's one of my closest friends. Hers is actually January 15th.
Okay. That's funny. It's like all these Leos, and I'm like, wait, I'm Aquarius, which is in the opposing side of Leo, which means like we're like the closest as you can be because of the way it's kind of like we're the most not compatible, but like we're the most alike.
It's almost like a yin yang, though, right?
Yeah.
Like they can go together because you're absolutely right. And Carrie Lynn's a Leo too, so now you know why you get along. Well, she's not hard to get along with.
How can you not love Carrie Lynn? I feel like I've known her all my life. Like I literally.
I know. Okay, we're talking about Carrie Lynn Shellhorn on UPRN here. Spirit Switchboard. I always forget to do this. We're almost done, but but if you're just tuning in, you're listening to UFO Paranormal Radio Network or United Public Radio Network, or we call it UPRN. And this is the Angel Rock. But we are talking about another one of our hosts, who is a very good friend of both of ours, Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, on Fridays with Spirit Switchboard. From the minute, because I help people that are new to the network, I'm kind of the backup if they need help learning how to produce. So from the first second, I will never forget this. Carrie Lynn said, hi. And I went, oh my God, I love her. We're going to be friends. And I've never had that feeling before, just by like you felt like you knew her your whole life.
Yeah. And her laugh is so contagious when she gets the giggles. I just love it. I love it.
Yes, I know. She's such a sweetie. Oh.
She's got a good show coming up this Friday night. She's got a Sasquatch guy on, I believe. It's supposed to be really good.
Ooh, I haven't had time. I feel awful to connect with her. We usually send her little notes. We've been trying to do a movie night. Maybe we have to send you an RSVP and all of us get online. We used to do that on our old network.
Fun.
We used to get, because everybody lived all over the US and I was in Canada, and there was a whole group of us that were kind of got to know each other, sort of paranormal stuff. So because we couldn't get together, We used to do it either, I think it was on Skype then, but we used to do it on Skype. Everybody grabbed maybe a glass of their favorite wine, and whether you want to listen to music or watch a movie together or whatever. And at least you're not in the same room, but it's kind of like being in the same room.
That's
Right?
cool. That's cool. I would love to. I would love
So
to.
we're trying to do that. She's so busy, though. I'm so busy. I'm sure you're really busy. Everybody's busy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to say it, but we're hitting spooky season, so we're all going to be like nonstop till November.
I have been working on spooky stuff since February because I do resin and polymer clay and pretty well anything like that, right? And I was just looking at stuff. I have a whole bunch of stuff, but I feel like I got nothing ready. So I'm actually, when we finish our show tonight, I'd forgotten I have a mold for, are you ready for this one? If anybody's into UFOs, it's like a little trinket jar. And it looks like the beam of light coming down is a jar, and the top is a flying saucer. And then it comes with all these little pieces, like little aliens. There's a cow, and all this stuff looks like it's being sucked up in it. So that's what I'm going to be working on tonight.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Why not? Well, we're doing that paranormal conference I was saying at the beginning of, before we went on air. So if those of you that are in the area or want to fly in for Lake Superior, Paranormal Conference, October 4th to 6th this year. Carrie Lynn's a main featured speaker. I think I'm in one of the other rooms, and we have merch tables and stuff. And Michelle said, I wish so too. Well, you said before, you said you got to meet us.
I'm coming to Canada. I've already told Carrie Lynn in 2025, I'm coming to Canada.
I love it. You need to. We'd love to have you. So yes. Mish says, oh, Lorilei, that's cool. Please show pictures. You know what it is? I'm too much of a perfectionist because to me, well, you get people, no, and I don't mean like that I'm ANAL retentive about it. It's just people are going to spend money on something. They're not expecting it to look like it came out of a factory. But I've met people, because the worst thing, bane of existence, I have animals, is animal hair and resin. It's liquid plastic, right? Same. Do you do resin?
I don't do resin, but I've got pets and it's everywhere. Okay. I don't care what I do. There's pet hair.
Okay, same here. So, but I have met people that do this stuff that'll say, oh, don't mind the hair in it. That's a present from my cat or my dog. I can't do that to people. Like, who wants a big freaking dog hair in the middle? I'm not saying that all my pieces have hair in it or like there's a bubble or something. I want people, if they're going to buy something, that they're not. And other people say, well, it just shows it's homemade. No, I can't do that. Oh, Mish goes, I just want to see your mold. Well, it's not much to look at. And the company that did it went out of business. She used to do all her molds on 3D printers. They were beautiful. But I'll try and show it. I'll try and take a picture and show it.
Yeah, take a picture. I'd like to see. That sounds cool, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are almost out of time, We just got time for you to tell people all about how to tune in for your shows and how to... I got to have you back on. You know what I was thinking next time? We'll have Carrie Lynn on, too.
The three of us?
Yes.
Yes, let's do it.
That'd be fun.
I would love it. I would love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's a lot going on for FPRI, which, of course, is my paranormal team. So we have what we call a paranormal lockdown this Saturday night that goes till 5 a.m. at Belgrove Plantation in Port Conway. We are the host team for Belgrove Plantation, so we're there quite a bit. September the 7th, I am teaching an introduction to tarot class in Mechanicsville.
Oh, I love that.
I have 2 spots open, so if you're in the Virginia area, come join us. Let's see. September 21st, FPRI is going to Appomattox, Virginia, and we're going to be investigating the Clover Hill Village. September 28th, FPRI, we are teaming up with Ghost Town Operations.
Ooh.
On September 28th, which is the world's largest ghost hunt day. We're going to be in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and we're doing public investigations at the Jenny Wade House and the Haunted Orphanage.
Wow.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. In October, the 4th through the 6th, me and my friend Kim Sage, who you saw on earlier, who was in the chat, she's going to do a vendor booth, but we're going to be at Massachusetts Paracon.
Oh, I wish I was there.
I know. And then we're, October. So we're going to be at Belgrove probably every weekend doing ghost investigations. But then October 26th, me and Ryan Jones, who is my co-host on the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show, we're going to be at Fleetwood Paracon, the Resurrection. It hasn't been announced yet, but we're going to be there, and we've been asked to be speakers at that event.
Wow.
So we're excited. So Sunday nights, you can find me on the Riff Nation Network with Ed/Howie Odell, 7 p.m. Eastern. We have all kinds of different guests from, we talk a little bit about everything, spiritual, paranormal. We've had some drag queen shows on. We've had, we just will explore any, and we have a good time. As Lorilei can attest, we have a fun time talking about all kinds of different things.
My eldest son is part of the LGBTQ community, and he actually does drag part-time. His character's name is Chez La Vie.
Ooh. And then on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm on the Freakin Awesome Paranormal Show, which is on the Vibe Network. We with Ryan C. Jones. Then the first Sunday of every month at 9 p.m. on the Freakin Awesome playlist. You can only find us on YouTube. It is me, Ryan C. Jones, and Howie.
I did not know that.
We pick a different genre or in time frame of music, and we all pick our favorite songs. So we'll be on, the first Sunday at 9 p.m. in September on YouTube. And I got to pick this time. I picked your favorite songs from your roller skating history.
Oh, wow.
So that's going to be fun.
Oh my gosh. I did not know you guys. You are one busy lady. I will tell you that. Most of us are that do this stuff though, aren't we?
Yeah, it's funny. I went to a wellness event last Sunday and I did 17 mini tarot readings. They were 3 cards. Goodness. I did 17. Then I came back and did the show with Howie. And then we had the playlist show at 9:00. And I was like, why do I do this to myself? I'm so tired.
But that's
it's so much fun.
That's what's called on YouTube, the Freakin Awesome
playlist is only on YouTube. Yep.
Okay. I didn't know that. I'm going to be following
it. Yeah. So to find me, I'm Rhonda Harris. You can find me just on Facebook. I'm actually building out my paranormal, my public figure page. I haven't done that yet. But then Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigations. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're everywhere. Like I said, check that out. We've got some EVPs that have happened over the last few weeks that we posted out there. And then if you just want to email me, I'm at hello@rhondaharris.info.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I will be having you back on. I think I'm booking into I think I got 1 or 2 more dates in October and then November, but I want to have you on.
Because October,
well, and so it'll have to be in November. Maybe we'll do a Christmas thing with me, you, and Carrie. Then that'll be fun.
Let's do it. I would love that. I would love. I feel the same way about you as I do, Carrie Linda. Like I immediately met you, and I just adore you. So
I do too. So you're going to see them back. Well, Rhonda definitely, and I'm sure we can nail Carrie. Carrie Lynn's really busy too, but I'm sure we can scoop her up and we'll have
we have a little inside with her. I bet we can do it.
And then we can all have our favorite beverage. I don't care if it's cocoa or whatever you guys
want.
That's
what we should do. We should do that. And then we should do a Christmas movie one, like you were talking about. We all just grab our favorite wine. And that would be fun.
Okay, so it's in the making. Suggestions, feel free to share it. If you guys ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/The Angel Rock or any social media platform under Lorilei Potvin or The Angel Rock. Also, I am working on a website. I've told you guys that I am also trying to get that course set up, the whole thing together. If I can put it all under one website, it would be great. I don't know if that's going to happen with the resin and everything, but I am working on it. Also, what else? I have 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, the Angel Rocker Tribe for more things spiritual. Also, don't forget, David and I will be back. It's my part. We're having a birthday party.
I can't wait. That's going to be fun.
Before Mish goes to work. Hopefully I'm not sick. I've been coughing like crazy tonight. So it's like, no, I'm healthy. I'm healthy. I'm healthy. But that's this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the thing at the foot of the bed. And I forgot to mention it. You guys, we have that group on Facebook, the thing at the foot of the bed with Lorilei, Potvin, and David Hansel, because 80% of our audience on the network is audio only. So we post a lot of links, talk a lot of stuff. So we post it in that group. Also, you guys can share your pictures, questions, show ideas, whatever you like. And once we get to 200, we're getting up there, and the group hasn't been around that long. David and I are going to start going live in there from time to time, doing one question for your readings or whatever you guys want to talk about. So Rhonda, thank you again so much for being here.
I appreciate it.
Well, we're going to do it again soon, before you know it. And I want to thank all of you here for being here always. Otherwise, Rhonda and I just be having fun together, which is great. But we love your input.
Yes.
And you know what? You guys make the show what it is, and on Thursday night. So stay tuned for the next show coming up. And we will talk to you on Thursday. Much love and light, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
All right, stay spooky.